All right, and now we're finally ready for our program, and I believe Faye is going to introduce the program for us today. Faye?
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. I want to start out by introducing my boss. That's always a good place to start, right? Dr. Daniel, stand up, come on. He is going to present, I think, in 2 weeks and talk about some cool projects and initiatives that he has brought to Fort Wayne Community Schools that we're very, very excited about. But I want to today talk about the Family and Community Engagement Center, as we lovingly call FACE. And I've brought some folks with me. I'll introduce those as we get a little further along. But if we can go to the next slide. This is our organizational structure, and I share this with you so that you can see some of the things that we do at FACE, and I'll have another slide a little later on that will show that even more. But I would like Tim Captain to stand up at this point. He is the director for Student, Family, and Support Services, and we'll talk about what he does. We brought some cards for you, and we brought some pamphlets, because this is really about service to the community, to students, to our families within Fort Wayne Community Schools. And so if you know of folks that can utilize some of the things that we're going to show today, we certainly want you to reach out to us and connect us with them. The next person I want to introduce is Liz Bryan. If you'll stand, Liz. She's in charge of personalized education, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get along. And then Shanita Bolton, who is responsible for our college and career readiness piece, which has been a real boost, all of these programs, to what we are able to do and offer students within Fort Wayne Community Schools. Everyone else on here rolls up into one of these individuals and provide the services that they offer. So we are about district goal number 2. When we first opened up the center, I used to wear a badge that said proud to be number 2. And it really was, and it said, ask me why. Because we really wanted people to find out about us, know where we were, what we were doing, and the services that we provided. And so goal number 2 for Fort Wayne Community Schools is about engaging all segments of the community and how we support students and families through the educational process. And so we have what we call a pyramid for success, or what's MTSS, multi-tiered system of support. And so the things that we offer within the school district that all students get should meet the needs of 80 to 90% of our students. The students who need more, which we would at some point call students of concern, and we have a student support system that helps to identify what are the other supports they need. Those students would fall into tier 2, and then students who need even more. And a lot of times people see that as a deficit model. These are students that are struggling. That's not the case. These may be students who are excelling, but we need to figure out how to grow them even more, challenge them even more, and what do they need? We have many high-flying students who don't know how to get into college. They don't know what steps they need to take. And so those students would fall into tier 2 or tier 3, and we would provide them supports, as well as the students who may need additional support when it comes to reading and math and the other things. FACE, when we decided to put this place together, it was a place we wanted to consider centralized support, where families could go and they would be able to get their needs met, so that barriers that keep them from accessing educational opportunities could be removed. Homelessness, all of those kinds of things, we can help support in finding locations in that. So FACE is the centralized location. It serves as a gateway to the critical support services for our families and students. Offers innovative solutions, and we're continually trying to work on that edge as to what more do we need to do, what else do we need to do. And so the next slide shows the location at 230 East Douglas Street. And then the next few slides show the services we provide. Yeah, thank you. So student placement and enrollment falls under Tim. We have a health clinic there, so students can get physicals, they can get immunizations. We do screenings, hearing, vision, and then make referrals. Students can even get free glasses if they can't afford those. We offer classes through our clinic for adults and students. One of our biggest is babysitting. We have a lot of students who come, and it's all free. Everything we do at the center is free. The next slide shows community programs or college and career readiness, which Shanita is responsible for. She sits down with students, parents, and their child individually, and she has a team. Stephanie, you want to stand up for a quick second? Everyone knows Stephanie. Stephanie is one of our Gear Up advisors. And so they work this year in middle school and high school. Next year, that advisory team will move completely to high school because it's through a grant, and we're working with a specific cohort of students. So they look at resumes, they do internships, they help students with FAFSA completion, applications. They will review the students' essays that have to be written for college. So it's a total support in looking at scholarships and all of those kinds of things. Personalized education is Liz Bryan. She oversees our alternative schools. She also works with students around social emotional well-being, and as well as adults. So we have a slide a little bit later on that'll talk about that in more in depth. Families in transition, some people like to call them homeless. We want to call them families that are in transition. So we have clothing bank where we can connect folks with food, with housing, all of those kinds of things. Next slide. And the next one has to do with community programs that offers tutoring. Some of you may know of Study Connection. That falls out of Faye's K-12 athletic support. We are support to the schools in making connections with the community, and vocal and instrumental music program. We have what's called a B instrumental program. Students get an exploratory year in 6th grade, and then they get a brand new instrument from 7th grade through 12th. Some of our students, because they don't have the opportunity or funds to be able to buy an instrument, we then give them an instrument so that they don't have that hurdle of not participating because they don't have what they need. We also have folks who run summer camps for our music program, and we have people who come into the building because our students can't afford, many of them, to have private lessons. So we have folks who come in and do small group instruction. So professional learning is a big piece of what we provide coming out of FACE. And one of those pieces has to do with enhancing child well-being. And so things like mental health support, self-regulation, trauma-informed care, de-escalation, restorative practices are all a part of what we do as we're providing support to students. But then we had teachers who said, what about us? You know, we're working with students. Sometimes it's difficult. Even just hearing some of the stories of our students, teachers are saying, how can I help? How can I help? But I also need support. And so we are doing things around adult well-being as well. And the whole thing that Iric presented on a couple of weeks ago around Dr. Lasambe's work, we are also part of that initiative. And we have about 600 people in Fort Wayne Community Schools who get onto those keynotes and onto those education-specific sessions. And we are having deep, rich conversation within our school district about how we as a school district can move forward when we think about that whole shared humanity, equity, diversity, and inclusion. So our well-being system consists of positive behavior intervention and supports. And this is how do buildings individually develop a culture of learning. And so we talk about neuroscience, which is brain research. How does the adolescent brain work? And then what might be those the adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, trauma that students may have experienced. So how does the brain develop? And then if they have had those trauma experiences, that may cause some delay in brain development. So we need to understand that. And then our tiered supports, as we talked about before, the multi-tiered, multi-system of, or tiered system of support is what we utilize to try to meet those needs. And that's our readiness or well-being system for students. And then we work with teachers and strategies that they can use as they are working with students, as well as what do we do for the teachers and adults that work with our students. So I'm sure Dr. Daniel will cover this as he's talking deep learning, and Kathy talked a little bit about this, but we want to make sure that when our students graduate, they have acquired these 6 C's. It's very important. When we were talking to folks just a few weeks ago about what are employers looking for when students come into their workspace, And these are the kinds of things, the ability to collaborate, the ability to think critically, to be creative around what they do, get along with others, those kinds of things. And we want to work with our students to make sure that when they leave Fort Wayne Community Schools, they have these 6 C's. One of the things that we are working towards and have been as a part of FACE is who are our partners in the community to help provide resources. Almost everyone, Tim, Liz, and Shanita are on boards in the community as we continue to look for resources that help with the learning environment every day. And then we connect those resources to the schools. We connect those resources to our education component, the curriculum and all of that, so that we can really grow students the way that we want to see them in the city of Fort Wayne. So FACE is, and if you just continue to click, they'll pop up. FACE is about service. It's about support to families, students, and adults who work within the district. It's about how we communicate so that we're making sure we're doing the best for all, and it's about engagement. So we work with PTA, we work with community partners. Dr. Daniel has a student advisory, and we work with youth serving organizations. So every month we meet with Boys and Girls Club, Euell Wilson Center, Parks and Recreation, YMCAs, libraries, all at one time to talk about shared resources, how we can support each other, because after all, we have many of the same students. So what is it we need to do to support them, and how can they support us? This is something I went through Leadership Fort Wayne, and Justin at that time was working with Sherry Becker around having that program put together. And there was a gentleman that was part of this that said this. It's kind of one of those urban slang words that if you look it up, and it's the realization that each random passerby is living a life as vivid and complex as our own. And when we think about shared humanity, it really is about seeing people as we see ourselves and trying to support them, to help them to have maybe what they don't have. But even if they have it, how do we grow that? How do we stretch that? And so that's what FACE is all about, helping students and families to overcome, helping students and families to grow from where they are to greater position. This is the address. I have Tim Captain's name on there. He's overseeing the center. And the address, my name and Tim, but the person you need to contact at FACE is Tim, and he can get you to the resources that are available there at the center. So Q&A, and let me do this first. We have some packets here. There weren't as many of you here last week, so when they said, how many do you need? I said, about 30, thinking I had overshot. Well, thanks for coming out today. And we're going to hand out anyone who would like to have a packet. If you don't get one today in Fort Wayne Community Schools, we won't give you one. But if you don't get one today, we will make sure you get one. It just has the information about all the various programs. They also brought some cards, their own business card, to share so that if you know families who need these supports, you know students who are looking for a great school district to enroll in, Fort Wayne Community Schools has taken them all. So please head them our direction. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm on Zoom. Hi, I'm Kathy Callan. I just have a question about, can you talk a little bit about the foundation and if there are certain programs in the foundation and how the community might be supportive?
Yes, thank you for asking that question. Fort Wayne Community Schools has a foundation right now, and we're just wrapping this campaign up. It's about Be Instrumental. It's that program where we're putting instruments in the hands of students, giving them some support so that they can grow in that skill set, that they can be involved. So the foundation, its initial focus was around Be Instrumental and raising funds to be able to support those instruments, support those individuals that are coming in and providing the extra support. And now we are taking a look at what is the next initiative for that foundation. We have reached our goal, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 3 million, and we have already 2 million. Thank you, Kathy. I'm so glad you're here today. So $2 million, we have reached that goal. We want to continue that program. We're not going to drop it. We're not going to drop the focus, but we do want to see what else we need to do to help support our students, and that will become our next initiative. And so I know Dr. Daniel has a lot of great ideas around that, so he'll be talking about that when he comes in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Yes.
Dr. Faye and Dr. Daniel, usually you hear the complaints when people have things going wrong, but I want to give you a shout out for the job that you do for Fort Wayne. Many of you know in my former career, I was involved in the physician's practice. We had to recruit physicians from all over the country, residency programs from all over the world. And when we were recruiting, we recruit the husband and the wife. And to those two people, to one of them, depending on which one was the doctor, the quality of the medical staff in town was very important. To the other was the quality of the schools. And we were always so pleased that we could present Fort Wayne Community Schools as an outstanding alternative for their kids, that they didn't have to flee to the suburbs or to a private school. They could buy a nice home in the community. We recruited about 42 doctors during that 25-year period I was there, and always the schools were a big helper in getting that job done. So well done.
Yeah, one on Zoom.
So the question on Zoom, if you would repeat is any comments on the voucher issue?
You know, my boss is here. So if he wants to field that, I'm going to turn the mic over to him.
Sure. So the question is, what about vouchers? So I just was on a Zoom with both the South Allen County schools, Southwest. I was there with Northwest and East Allen. So our position is pretty simple. I have no problem competing. Matter of fact, competition's good. Just create a level playing field, which means if you're going to do this, have it be such that all dollars that are public dollars should be accounted for. So we go through extensive auditing. How many times? Once per year? Outside resources, outside, should I say, auditors come through our system, make sure that everyone is spending those dollars as they should. Now, to be quite frank, there are times where we need to be reminded, you know, this is really the way you should be doing this, and so on and so forth. Everyone needs that. So why is that not the case? Second of all, and I always will say this, if you don't have a strong public school system, your community is not going to thrive. To this gentleman's point, you have to have strong public schools. Yes, do I believe in private schooling? Do I believe in parochial schooling? Absolutely. My father was a minister. My brother, actually, he was a American Baptist, and yet my brother went to an all-boys Jesuit Catholic high school in Toledo, Ohio. Now think about that. It tells you a little bit about the public schools in Toledo in that area. That's what it tells you. So they elected to send him to a parochial school. Now, again, Fort Wayne, strong community. I heard this just the other day. Third fastest growing metropolitan area in the Midwest. Why? It's because of organizations like this. It's because we have great schools, and it's because we have great people who are recruiting to bring new business to our community. We're growing. So in regards to vouchers, I could go on and on. I'll just say, let's keep it level. Keep a level playing field, and I'll support competition any day of the week.
Thank you so much. And Faye, thank you. Once again, you've proven that some of our best speakers that we have are from our own members.